here we go. Attempting writing morning. Well, okay, maybe more like a writing early afternoon, which isn't usual for me. It took a little bit of time getting up, getting out of bed. But today, I feel like putting some words down, or at least I'm gonna try. We'll see what happens. Excuse me while I call for an elevator. So I'm at a point in the story where I'm having a little bit of difficulty in terms of which direction to go into. Now, this happens sometimes because I come up with a bunch of different directions and then I can't really settle on which way to go. And sometimes that happens to us creatively, you know? There we go. Much better. It is freezing out today, and I'll be perfectly honest, holy crap. Okay. Yeah. I didn't really want to get out of the house today. So there's that. But words need to get down, man. The characters need to speak. They need their voices to be heard. The story needs to progress because, well, I'm trying to make a book too. I mean, for crying out loud, I can't do that if I'm not writing at all. You know what really sucks about all this? I forgot my keys. One of those days. Sometimes things just don't go your way. Try not to let it bother me. I'm already later than I'd like to be, but this morning, Jacqueline and I were able to sit down and I could bounce some ideas off of her in terms of the story and be like, hey, do you think this would be cool? And she's like, yeah, that'd be cool. So I need to go write. But it helps sometimes to talk through what you're doing creatively, because someone else's perspective can just jostle a little thing inside of there that opens the floodgates, which is kind of cool when you think about it. For instance, yesterday, a friend of mine wrote and was having a creative block of some kind. And so, you know who you are, Jer. And she was like, hey, I'm at this point like where I'm creating something and I don't really know which direction to go into. And it's helpful. I gave her a couple of ideas and she's like, holy crap, like off we go, you know? And so sometimes that's just what you need. Just like a little bit of a nudge creatively to do the things you need to do. Sometimes you gotta nudge yourself. I'm not good at nudging myself because I just have all the ideas and I want them all at the same time. It's freaking cold. I'm gonna get in my car. So I'm heading to my coffee spot once more because it's just a place where, it's the place around here where I felt like I can write. You know, I can get out the words. It's not always perfect because I don't always get the seat that I want, but I feel like I'm familiar enough with the place at this point that I can work around whatever. I can work around not having my exact seat. You know, I can work around my morning being a little off or getting a slightly late start. This is just something that, you know, as a creative person, you have to get around. And I'm very guilty of this. I like things a certain way. I like them in place in a certain way. And it bothers me when it's not that specific way. But if we're always depending creatively on things being just so, at some point it's just a kind of paralysis. Like you can't do anymore. You're gonna be just so stuck in wanting things to be perfect and just so all the time that it makes it really difficult to actually create anything. That is something I'm very aware of and I'm very nervous about, and I try not to let happen to myself, you know? So we do what we can and we try to kind of work around that. I mean, I hate to say it in such a crude way, but it's kind of like dealing with your own bullshit. You know, like for me, the fact that I need like a specific seat and like a certain kind of view, and I get nervous if my back is to like everybody in the place and I'm just like facing a corner. that's my own personal bullshit. It's just the way I am. I've got plenty of quirks, just like anybody else has quirks out there. Those just happen to be some of them. But I'm really trying to break out of that pattern, to be like, okay, circumstance is not always going to be perfect for me to write. Just like in life, the circumstances aren't always perfect for you to do anything. Is it ever just the right time to like start school? Is it ever just the right time to get into a relationship or leave a relationship? Is it ever just the right time for anything? If you're always waiting for the perfect moment, you're just going to be waiting forever. Perfection doesn't exist that way. So, sure, maybe it might feel like it. You know, you may have that day where you go to do something creative, whether it's arting something or whether it's creating some music or something along those lines, where it just feels like the stars have aligned, you know? Everything works out just right. You had a good night's sleep. You had the breakfast. You're feeling creatively strong. Well, that's not always the case, though. So, and that's why with some of my tools, when I'm writing, I'm able to do a little bit here or there. So, like, I have the same app that I use on my laptop, I use on my phone. So I have access to everything I write in real time, synchronized in both places. Now, that helps me, because if I have an idea at night, and I don't want to go crawling out of a nice, warm, toasty bed to go get my laptop to write something down, I don't have a pen or paper nearby, well, my phone's there, I could just pop into the app and I can write down what I need to write. So, sure, you may not be able to have that perfect moment to create something the moment that you want the perfect moment to happen, if that means anything, but you can take advantage of the moments where a little bit of inspiration is hitting to do something. Write it down, get the idea on paper, start something, sketch something, any of those things to try and put yourself in a position where when you are feeling strong creatively, it'll make a difference. Yeah. Apart from that, how are you guys? I'll do a little bit more and wrap up what kind of a writing session I have after I'm all done and hopefully put down a few words. But let me know, like, what kind of projects are you working on? What are you doing creatively? Is there anything that you're stuck on? Is there anything that you're trying to get some additional ideas for? Do you feel like you are in a creative rut, or do you feel like you are in a supremely creative time? I don't know about you, but I go from creative time to creative rut. It seems like every other day I'm in some other kind of a state. Now listen, I don't get to write very often. So, you know, I get maybe, because I'm just really busy during the week and I have a very hard time writing at night, that it's almost like an every other Saturday for me, which isn't a lot. And I need to increase my output to some degree. And I've got some ways that I can do that. But for now, it's like every 2 weeks as I get this story going. And then what happens, inevitably, it happened in the first one, it happened in the very first story that I started writing that I'm at about 33,000 words, that I get to this point where the beginning of the story is very hard. You know, the beginning of that creative process is really difficult to try and come up with all the ideas and shape everything. But then, once I do, and my path is a little bit clearer, a little bit further forward, that's when I can throw down 4,000 words in a day or 5,000 words in a day. I've had those days and they're pretty amazing. And that's only because I'm really solid in the story and I know exactly which direction I want it to go. So, yeah, I mean, creatively you have to leave room for expansion, but you also have to know how you work, and you need a little bit of structure from time to time. I don't know. I know people that just sit down, open up a document, and write a story without knowing where the heck it's going to go. To me, that's not the way I want to do it. That's not the way I can do it. I can't really write that way. It's too open-ended. My head is too busy with ideas to really pin something down. So I have to have some structure. This is that whole difference between people they call planners and people that they call pantsers. Plotters. I'm sorry, plotters and pantsers. So a plotter is somebody that sits down and outlines and crafts the entire story and does all the things, so when it's time to write, the only thing they need to do is get the words out of there. And a pantser is somebody that literally just goes by the seat of their pants. So they're trying to... Sorry, I accidentally turned on my windshield wipers. They're basically just trying to be creative and let the creative process run wild. I sit somewhere in the middle. I'm what's called a plantser. So I like to have a rough idea of where I'm going, usually a few steps ahead, and not much more than that. And then kind of allow the story, if it needs to, move around a little bit. Allow for some surprises, because sometimes those surprises are the best parts of a story. When I was writing book 1, The Caretaker, there were a few of those scenes that really surprised me because I had not planned them. I didn't really have any idea that the story was going to go in that direction, but it did anyway. Perfect example is when William and Duncan find themselves in the Carey Bog pub, right? There's a scene, two of my main characters go to the pub, and in the pub, weird stuff starts to happen. And then there's this giant fight, and it's really freaking bloody, and it's fantastic. And I love that. I love that scene, and I love that it came out of my head. But at the same time, and the following scene too, the scene afterwards, even more so, where the two of them are in an alley together, and Duncan is having some realizations that are really integral to his character and his story. Those scenes kind of came out of nowhere. That's not where I was planning to go, and it just happened to work out that way. And you know what? To quote my pretty girlfriend, I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying. She is really pretty. Very lucky. I can't find a place to park. This is my song when I can't find a place to park. That's a terrible song. And I'm very sorry for subjecting it to you. Also, this lady needs to get out of my way before I run her over. Okay, come on. Move it. It's a giant parking garage, woman. Don't walk in the middle of it. This is going to be super cold. I don't know why I'm singing to you right now. This is my mood when I'm in a giant parking garage, I guess. I try to sing, loving you. Okay, I'm not going to do that one to you. I won't, I promise. And we got a spot. And I parked incorrectly. I think it's hilarious that my car beeps when I back up. Like it's some kind of truck or something. I'm in a Prius, for crying out loud. It doesn't need to beep when I'm going back. We're like, it's a Prius. Like it's a Matchbox car that gets 50 miles to the gallon. Well, I'm here, and time to go take a walk to the coffee spot and see if I can find a spot and get some words down. Take a walk with me. Here we go. Not gonna lie, man, parking lots, parking garages fascinate me. I know it seems weird, but I think it has something to do with martial arts training and all that stuff in such a way that there's so many dark corners and there's nothing really there except for concrete and stuff like that. So it's just a neat place for shit to go down. If you're a fan of The Caretaker, you already know this about me because there's an entire scene where William meets Elise that takes place in a parking garage. It's just perfect for that kind of transient atmosphere where you're not really sure what's going on or something can go one direction or another. I know there's nobody there, there's no authority there. Parking garages, fascinating places for stories, just saying. I am in Hartford, Connecticut, for those of you who don't know where these stories originate and where I'm doing my filming and living and all that stuff. And I'm in a pretty awesome spot here called Blueback Square, which has to do with Noah Webster of Webster's Dictionary fame. And his original book was the Blueback Book or some such thing that had all of his words and definitions and whatnot. And there's the start of it. Strangely enough, not many years later, we went from having Webster's Dictionary to having the Urban Dictionary, where you can look up all kinds of terrible stuff. It's a funny place to go for ideas. All right, I gotta mask up and get in here, so I'll be back with you in just a minute. So in all, 1,000 words down. Pretty productive, I'll take it. Now here's the thing. If I can only write once or twice a week, and my output is only about 1,000 words every time, well, do the math. To come up with a novel that's approaching 100,000 words, it's a lot of weeks. And I don't want to take that long. But I am crafting elements of the beginning of this story. It requires a lot of looking back at what I've done before, connecting the dots in a lot of different ways, hinting to what's ahead. It's so much setup and really complicated to construct the story this way to make sure that it's not just supremely linear and that I can really kind of reach around the world that I'm creating and add a bunch of different elements to it. So it's a little slower going right now. I want it to be faster, but I've got to be patient. My creative process is what it is, and I can't change it. Where's my car? It is currently 17 degrees here, so it is pretty darn cold, especially in an awesome parking garage that's all kinds of creepy and frozen because it's just concrete and wind. Never been so happy to jump inside of a Prius. Go figure. Holy shit, it's cold. Hey, yay. I mean, look, I used to live in northern New Hampshire, right? In northern New Hampshire, you can go out like in sometime in January or February, and it might be 20 below. That's cold. But it's a dry cold, so it's not so bad. That's what I always told people when they were like, oh, like I'm in Las Vegas. It's like 120 degrees, but it's like a dry heat. I'm like, it's 120. What do you mean? I don't care how dry it is. You can cook food at that temperature. Here, people are like, oh my gosh, it's 17 degrees. I'm like, yeah, it's a dry cold. It's fine. I mean, typically when it's like between 30 and 40, by the way, I'm talking Fahrenheit for you people because that's how we do it here. I don't know what this Celsius equivalent is. I don't math that well. But when it's somewhere around 40 degrees here, I'm usually out in like a t-shirt and jeans, maybe a hoodie. I really prefer the cold. I'm just kind of chilled to the bone right now. It's the wind that I have a hard time with, you know? Anyway, I'm rambling. So, all in all, a decent writing day. Happy to get those 1,000 words down. It went in a direction I did not expect. And look, I even talked about that on the way here. Like, sometimes it does that. I thought about the chapter that I was writing. It's chapter 4, but probably 3, because I have to condense 2 and 3 into one, a bigger 2. Anyway, but I didn't think I was going to go the way I did, but I'm like, you know what? Seems like good timing for that. And if I don't use the scene that I wrote in that place, I'm just going to keep it like in the bank and then put it in somewhere a little bit later. So that's pretty much where my day went. This was a decent writing day. I got some words down. I'm happy with the output of 1,000. I may actually write a little bit later from home, just like kind of chilling out. Usually I like to do my editing at home, you know, where I can just kind of breeze through the words. I don't have to be too creative because there's a lot of distractions, like chocolate. Chocolate's really distracting. So there it is, folks. Author vlog number 2 in the books. Started out with however many words, added a bunch more. I'll put up a graphic or whatever that kind of shows how I did, and the story moves on. Now look, I want to share more of this stuff with you. I want to share more of the story and the background and all of the things in this world that I'm working on. The problem is, spoilers. Not everybody that watches this channel cares a lick about me writing a book. And not everybody's interested in stories. Not everybody likes some of the gruesome stuff that I put in there. It's not really gruesome. It's like there's some scenes, all right, that might be a little intense and there's some blood and stuff like that. But like you have to have the contrast. I want to share more about that in the world and everything else, but it's weird. Like I only want to do it with those of you who have read the book. That way there can be like a little bit of a discussion about it. Otherwise, I feel like I'm giving away a lot and I don't want to ruin it for anybody that has yet to read the book but is planning on it. So I don't know how to get around that. If you have a suggestion, let me know. I'd love to hang out with a bunch of you that have read the book to actually just have a discussion about it. Maybe that's something we could do on a live or something else. If you have any ideas, please let me know. I'm open to hearing them. And anyway, thank you for coming along with me on this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, had some good thoughts on the way, and I think it set me up for some success writing on the day. So, woohoo, people. Woohoo. Anyway, thank you, and I will catch you again very, very soon.